Okay, so there's some people that are going on about the probability of Craig Wright being Satoshi Nakamoto or not, but they might be basing that on statistical guesses, information, the way people talk at conferences. But how about just checking the actual facts from all those talks going back to like 2015, like Nick Szabo. Um, Craig explains Turing completeness correctly. You just need two stacks of memory, and then you don't need to run loops. You can just simulate whatever you want by updating the memory on those two stacks. And that's common knowledge for somebody who properly understands computer science. Not everyone does, but he's the one going and explaining this to everyone at that time. He's also explaining the purpose of double hashing in two senses. One is the removal of illicit data by nodes being able to ignore it, while also, if they ignore something, there's not really an unaccountable way that they're doing that, because they're the hash of what they're ignoring can be shown. So if they're ignoring something that's actually valid, good information, the hash reveals it. But there's also the fact that mining can be separated from transaction verifying, which means if you have a bunch of heaters in your homes that you're using anyway, well, you can mine by finishing the nonce checking for a block without having to verify any transactions, without having to be really well connected to the internet, just connecting with nodes that provide you the nonce, or the pools that provide you the nonce checking data that you want to be a part of. So Craig also explained that properly when pretty much no one else did. Blockstream didn't. All these people listed in Wikipedia who are like supposedly could be Satoshi Nakamoto, like they wouldn't explain this stuff. Everyone in Blockstream is pretty much anti, basically anti whatever the double spend checking algorithm, whatever you want to call that. They're basically either against it secretly, or in like lying about it, or they just don't understand computer science. Like they don't understand how to use, like, to create Merkle trees and split the transactions based on categorizing them based on, like, say you want to split it 10 ways, then you say, okay, between 0 and 0.1 send over here, between 0.1 and 0.2 send over here, because you can split the transactions up, and you can scale a blockchain. Adam Back will say you can't scale it. Vitalik would say BSV can't scale. That's completely false. That's just basic computer science. You can scale the double spend checking algorithm easily. Why do you think airports are able to keep track of all airplanes at the same time live? Because they have enough bandwidth. That's as simple as that. You just need nodes to have enough bandwidth to handle all the transactions, and then you can do double spend checking. So, this is all basic computer science. So we have that. We have him pointing out the Lightning Network doesn't make sense, in the sense that it's trying to create something new that isn't already solved in like a near complete graph with big nodes. So for Lightning, you'd still need Lightning node hubs to tell you the routing that you need to take. So there's that. Craig's the only one basically pointing that out. That's my point, is he's the one who is pointing that out, no one else. So this is all verifiable computer science. It's not just like a statistical guess, like, oh, Craig seems to talk a lot. No, he's like the only one actually explaining properly the computer science. Like, maybe other people are too, but he's the only one actually showing up at these conferences who's like actually explaining these correct things early on, when we start having these conferences and these debates and stuff. So that doesn't prove that he's Satoshi Nakamoto, but it proves that he knows what's like this bit how Bitcoin actually works early on, when other people don't. And that's not a statistical guess. It's like, this is like it's just a solid, it's just solid facts. It's just solid understanding and information. So you have that, and then you have, so opcodes, scaling, and then SegWit, and then traceability. When he explains money laundering with privacy versus secrecy coins, I mean, that's also true as well. You can have tiny little coins moving around in a wallet to conceal sort of, but it's still tracing. And you don't want a government to not have the traceability because they're just going to money launder. But if it's traceable, when money gets dumped through one office somewhere else, you can see like, oh, look, they're laundering it over here. You can eventually make that connection and find out what's going on and investigate. So he's the one who explains that, by the way. There's a video of him explaining that. I didn't find any other videos of people explaining that, and that was early on too. That was years ago. So he has got an understanding of Bitcoin early on, and it's not just an understanding of like what people think are the basics. It's the real basics that like no one else still to this day, barely anyone actually understands. But you can verify, if you understand math and computer science properly, you can actually verify that this is the case. Like that all this other stuff that these other guys are saying who are big in the space, that they don't know the real basics. They don't know the actual proper basics, foundational aspects of Bitcoin. And that also goes with MetaNet, like the fact that you can use it to create, like, it's just like one more Lego piece in the whole scheme of things, for microtransactions and what you can use them for in the future network systems. So whether you use that information to say Craig is Satoshi, but it's not just a statistical yes as a statement of Craig understands Bitcoin better than these people at these conferences, or that he's telling the truth about it instead of them. You can use that to help you piece together information and decide what you think is actually going on. So, but it's completely false when you have people saying, like Vitalik saying like, well, Craig's just wrong about this, and then tries to ban him from the conference. It's like, no, he's not. You're the one who's wrong. So anyway, just thought I'd share that. I don't know if people get that or not, but I'm just sharing that. So see you guys later.